So, welcome everyone for this Sunday Love Feast program. First of all, I would like to thank Nilmani Prabhu for giving me this opportunity. Certainly, while preparing for class, uh, I think I would be the most benefited person because that would help me to touch the scriptures and try to understand um, the beautiful scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam. You know. So before we start the class, we will sing Jai Radha Madhav. Okay. So we'll everyone sing with us. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jagati Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Anandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Natira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki, Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Jai Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Jai Shri Shri Shinath Ji Gopal Nath Ji ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So again, welcome everyone for the Sunday Love Feast program. So today's topic is losing the battle but winning the war. So I think in this material world, right, we have a different perspective of win and loss. If you look at our whole life, every time you'll always think about everything in terms of win and loss. Right? So this is a very famous picture. I think everyone knows, right? so when we think about winning and losing, right? So when we talk about victory, so victory is associated with a very good feeling, right? Feeling of joy, feeling of happiness, feeling of satisfaction, right? Feeling of encouragement. Whereas in a material world, when we look at the feeling of defeat, which is associated with the misery, you feel frustrated, there is hopelessness, discourage. That's a two aspect always people whenever they think about win and loss. And if you look at the whole life, right from the birth all the way up to death, we always gauge all our activity whether you want something, whether you lose something, right? But if you look at from the Srimad Bhagavatam point of view, right, victory and defeat both are defined a little bit differently, right? And we'll in a subsequent slide we're going to try to understand that. Actually, according to Bhagavatam, victory and defeat is not like just winning a contract or trying to load over this material nature. It's not about that. But also sometimes the victory and defeat is also seen in the relationship. Someone, whether someone won or in his relationship with something, or we also say in our life that okay, he lost a battle with his addiction and he screwed up his life, or someone lost a battle with his disease and lost his life. So that's how we always think everything around us in a win and loss or victory and defeat. Also, in material world, when we talk about victory and defeat, it is also associated with the quality like pride, false ego, and other side, the quality like tolerance, humility. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, right, victory and defeat is very well explained and narrated by the episode of Vritrasur and Lord Indra. This episode is explained in the sixth canto, and there are a couple of chapters. It starts from chapter 9 all the way up to chapter 12, right? Where it's beautifully explained these two wonderful episodes or dealings between the Vritrasur and Indra. And also, we're going to take one verse, which is a very important verse, which actually defines the victory and defeat from the spiritual point of view, which is a verse number 6, 12, 7. We'll read the verse. We're going to go through the purport and try to understand some takeaway point from that verse. Okay. So this is the verse. Yuyutsata kutrachita tataina jaya sadaikatra nave paratmanam vinayikabuddhi laya pralayastiraswaram sarvadimatam purusham sanatanam. Okay. So, translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vritrasur continued, O Indra, no one is guaranteed of being always victorious, but the original enjoyer, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. He is the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, and he knows everything. Being dependent and being obliged to accept the material body, belligerent subordinates are sometimes victorious and sometimes defeated. Let's look at the purport. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham hriday sannivisto mata smritim gnanam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes the remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. When two parties fight, the fights actually goes on under the directions of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, the Super Soul. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita 3:27, Lord says, Prakritiya kriyamanani guna karmani sarvasa ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of three modes of material nature, think himself the doer of activity that are in actually carried out by the nature. The living entity works only under the directions of Supreme Lord. Lord gives order to material nature, and she arranged facilities for the living entity. The living entity are not independent, although they foolishly think themselves the doer, Karta. Victory is always with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As a subordinate living entity, they fight under the arrangement of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Victory or defeat is not actually theirs. It is an arrangement by the Lord through the agency of material nature. Pride in victory or moroseness in defeat is useless. I'll repeat. Pride in victory or moroseness in defeat is useless. One should fully depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is responsible for victory and defeat of all living entity. Lord advise, Niyate kuru karmatvam, karma jayo hi akarmanaha. Perform your prescribed duty, for the action is better than inaction. The living entity is ordered to act according to his position. Victory or defeat depends on Supreme Lord. Karmanyavadikaraste ma phalesu kadachana. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. One must act sincerely according to his position. Victory or defeat depends on the Lord. Last paragraph. Vritrasur encouraged Indra, saying, "Don't be morose because of my victory. There is no need to stop fighting. Instead, you should go on with your duty. When Krishna desired, you will certainly be victorious." This verse is very instructive of sincere worker in Krishna consciousness movement. We should not be jubilant in victory or moroseness in defeat. We should make a sincere effort to implement the will of Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I again repeat, we should make a sincere effort to implement the will of Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we should not be concerned with victory or defeat. Our only duty is to work sincerely so that our activities may be recognized by Krishna. So here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada very well, very nicely actually defined the victory and defeat. What he says, Srila Prabhupada is telling that actually one should sincerely act, right, under the directions of Krishna, or in a full alignment with the Krishna's, or as per the Krishna's desire, right? And now, so while we're going to understand this victory and defeat from the Vritrasur and Indra's perspective, right, in the subsequent slides. So, if we all know, Indra and Asuras, right? They will always have some fight together. If you look at the Bhagavatam, there are many fights has been described between Indra and Asura. So Indra is always in the forefront of defeating Asuras. But many times, what happens is that sometimes Devatas are victorious, sometimes Asuras are victorious, right? So there was a once upon a time, Indra actually defeated the Asuras. And after this defeat, Indra became puffed up. And there was a one day, Indra was seated in the assembly of Devatas, actually, on his Vyasasan, on his asan. And he was sitting there, and somehow Brahaspati, his guru, he entered the assembly. But Indra, because he was so puffed up because of his victory, he did not greet his guru, Brahaspati. Brahaspati looked at around, no one was paying attention to him. So Brahaspati think that now Indra is so much into the opulence. He's so much enamored by the dancers and songs which is playing in the assembly. He is not really value the mercy of the Guru. And by thinking that, he just left. Brahaspati left the assembly. Now this time, what happened is that actually Indra was defeated by his pride. Right? Bhagavatam says that if Indra have thought about if Indra was victorious from one point of view, from a material point of view, he win the battle against the demons, but he was actually defeated by his ego or his pride, and that's why he offended his guru. And Bhagavatam also explained that the victory and defeat is not actually of what you see from the outside perspective, but actually victory and defeat is a consciousness, right? Here, the Indra's consciousness is that that he is defeated by his pride, right? So when any devotee take upon any of the work, right? Whether they become victorious in their efforts or whether they get defeated by those efforts, but if they get defeated by their pride, their false ego, or the envy, then it is a real defeat by the devotee. You know, actually, Indra was victorious, but he forgot that whatever the victory they got, right, that is not actually because of the mercy and the purity of his guru. Right. So after that happened, when the Brahaspati left the Indra, actually Indra lost all opulence. They actually lost the war because their guru's mercy had left them. Now what Indra did? Indra approached Lord Brahma. You know, Indra approached Lord Brahma, and then Indra said to King. Indra approached Lord Brahma, and then he said that he explained all the what happened. You know how they have offended his guru. Indra also seek for forgiveness from in the assembly. Actually, there was an assembly. He actually personally condemned himself and then seek for forgiveness that I offended his guru. When they approach Brahma, Brahma says, okay, fine, but he first chastises Indra and all the demigods. And later on, Brahma said that, why don't you approach Viswarupa? Viswarupa was a son of Twasta. He was a great sage, and he asked him to approach Twasta. So what demigods do? After this, all the demigods together, and they approach Viswarupa. Viswarupa perform different yagyas, and then he tried to again re-establish all the opulence of Indra and the demigods, right? But as Krishna's fortunately, unfortunately, as Krishna have arranged, Viswarupa was also has some relationship with the demons from his mother's side. So what happened? Whenever Viswarupa was performing yagyas, right, he pay all the obeisances in a favor of Devtas, but later on he neutralized the Devtas' power by offering obeisances to Asuras, right? So when Indra and when the Devtas and Asuras, when they involved in a fight, what they were seeing is that the fight become neutral. So it's like a football match, 0-0, 1-1, 2-2. It's all go on the draw. You know. So Indra was thinking, what's going on now? Why he is not becoming a victorious against Asura. One day, when the Vishwarupa was offering obeisances after the yajna is finished, Indra was leaving the place, and then he saw that in a soft tone, Vishwarupa was offering which are in favor of Asuras. So when that happened, right, Indra become very angry. He become very angry. He take out his sword, and by one shot, he just chop off the hand of Vishwarupa. Right. So this time, because why he did that? Because for Indra, the victory over the Swargaloka or victory over the Asuras is so important, right? For him, the lording over the opulence of the Swargaloka was so important. That's why he actually incurred into this act. If, as Prabhupada explained in his purport, that if he thinks that victory and defeat is not that important, but his alignment or his service to the Lord is very important, in that case, probably Indra would be a little bit more humble, right? He would have handled the situation a little bit differently, where he could have rebuked, where he could have kind of laid off Vishwarupa, just go, I will find another guru, if he found that. But rather than doing all that, what he did is he killed the Brahmana, right? Because Vishwarupa was a very learned Brahmana. He killed Brahmana, right? So by doing so, uh, I think Vishwarup, Indra also this time, right? What happened is that first time he was defeated by his pride, and the second time he was defeated by his anger. Even though he killed the Vishwarupa, but means from a material perspective, he win over the Vishwarupa, but actually he lost the battle with his anger, right? Sometimes we think that why Indra did that, right? Many times this very important personality in a Bhagavatam take this role, right, where they involve in such act. Why they did that? Because from their action we can take away some points. Otherwise, how we are going to see our own shortcomings? Now, what happened? Now, the killing of Viswarupa quickly go to his father, Twasta. Twasta was a great sage, and Twasta actually performed. Okay, so Twasta was a great sage, right? And that when the message of massive killing of Vishwarupa reached to Twasta, Twasta arranged a, a, a one very big sacrifice. In that sacrifice, there was a big demon which come out from that sacrifice from the southern side. His name is Vritrasura. Actually, the demons born to slay Indra. But Vritra means actually one who covers everything. Bhagavatam gives a very, very beautiful description of Vritrasur. It says that Vritrasur has a blackish hue and yet a reddish in color. He was lustrous and he looked like a bright array of cloud. He has a huge beard and mustache, and his eyes were fierce. He stood upright, his head was touching, or his crown was touching the cloud. Now, when the Vritrasur come out of this sacrificial fire, Twasta unleash him against the Indra. Now, after that, there was one of the very great battle began, where all the demons headed by Vritrasur, they attack demons. Now, what happened? When that episode takes place, first Devatas were thinking, okay, let's go and fight with them, fight them. They go there, and then later on they realize that all the demons come with the Vritrasur. Vritrasur, by looking at the Vritrasur, most of the Devatas, their heart gets shattered. They already feel that they already lost a war. They try to attack the Vritrasur with the weapons and all those things, but Vritrasur was so huge that actually, when they throw the bows and arrows and everything, it was like a flower coming to Vritrasur. The Vritrasur picked them and then really trample and destroy the Devata's army. So Devta actually lost the battle. They lost the battle. They leave that place. Then what happened? Devta always they are the devotees of the Lord. So Devta said, let's approach Lord. They approach the Lord and they perform beautiful prayers. If you read the Bhagavatam, there's a wonderful prayers which Devta perform for the Lord. When they are doing the prayers, there's one of the verse which is very wonderful, which I would like everyone to kind of pay attention to. That verse is 6:9-25. In that verse, Devta actually explained, why conditioned soul cannot see Supreme Personality of Godhead God face to face. Again, why conditioned soul cannot see Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. So in this prayer, Devta explained that why that happened. So this prayer is like this. Ya ek isho nijmaya naha sasarjayona sujama vayam nayasya pipura samihitam pashyam lingam prut ishamaninaha. Okay, I'll read the translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, who created us by his external potency and by whose mercy we expand the creation of universe, is always situated before us as a super soul. But we cannot see his form. We are unable to see him because all of us think that we are separate and independent gods. Right? Again, I'll read last sentence, underline. We are unable to see him because all of us think that we are separate and independent God. Right? And Prabhupada, if you read the purport, Prabhupada in the first two lines, Prabhupada explains that why, right? So Prabhupada says here that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we cannot see him face to face, Even Lord appear before us, we are always deride him as not being the Supreme Personality and thinking him as ordinary human being, right? So Devatas, actually, when they are singing this prayer, right, they are actually admitting that what their flaws are, right? While they are in the Swargaloka, which is like a very much covered with the opulence, right? There are a lot of diversions in the Swargaloka. That's why they are not very well able to focus and concentrate on their bhakti, right? So that's why they get deviated, and they forget that what is the why, as it's explained into the last line, that they forget or they get defeated by understanding that it's a Pashyamalingam Prishayitamanina, means they think themselves as a separate and independent from the Lord, right? And then they try to lord it over the material nature, rather than thinking that they are the supreme in charge of all this material affair appointed by Krishna, right? Also, uh, also for a devotee, it is one of the very important point uh, that how we can know that here the devata forgot that they are not aligned with the will of the Krishna. Same way, how devotee can come to know that how they are not aligned with the will of Krishna, right? That is given in one of the verse, which is 1 5, which is 1 5 14. In this verse, actually, Narad Muni is saying, what Narad Muni says? Narad Muni says that it's a dustita matiha. What dustita matiha means? Dustita matiha means it's a oscillating. Right? He said that mind is oscillating continuously. If your mind is oscillating continuously, that means that your activities are not aligned with Krishna, and because of that, you are always anxious. You are in anxiety, right? Same way, like if you look at this episode of Devatas, right? Devata, when they saw the Vishwarupa for the first time, their heart is filled with the anxiety, right? And then they really worried that what will going to happen because their mind is not aligned with Krishna. But later on, if you see, still the Devatas are the devotee of the Lord. So what they did, they approached the Lord Krishna, right? Our nature is that if we have any problem, what we'll do? We'll try to solve that problem by on our own, right? We forgot that the victory and defeat in whatever endeavor we do, which is actually ordained by Krishna, right? We forgot that. That's why we try to solve the problem on our own rather than surrendering to the Krishna. Now, after approaching the Lord, they finish all the prayers, and then Lord asked them to go and approach Dadichi, right? Vritrasur, Lord says that Vritrasur is a very powerful demon. You cannot defeat him on your own power. So what you should do, you should go and approach Dadichi, and you request him for his bones. From his bone, ask Vishwakarma to carve out a weapon or Vajra, and then you would be able to kill the Vritrasur. Now, all the demigods were departing for Dichi, Krishna says one wonderful thing. He said, Lord revealed that actually Vritrasur is not an asur; he is a devotee. Right? Please do not worry. Actually, I want to read what Prabhupada, or the translation which Prabhupada given in the translation of that verse in 6:955. It says, when Vritrasur is killed because of my spiritual strength, because Krishna is ordained each and everything who will be victorious and who will be defeated. So so Krishna says that when the Vritrasur is killed because of my spiritual strength, you will regain your strength, you regain your weapon and wealth. Thus, there will be good fortune all to you. Although Vritrasur can destroy all these three worlds, do not fear, he will not harm you. He is also a devotee and will never be envious of you, right? It is what a wonderful point Krishna is making here, right? What he's saying, Krishna is saying here, that when 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 Indra and everyone, when he is puffed up with his pride, when he's puffed up with his anger, he could not able to recognize that the Vitrasur is a devotee. Indra does not know that he is a devotee, but the Krishna, right? He knows he is a devotee, right? So sometimes for us also it is very difficult, right? When someone is in the pride, and when they are with a lot of tendencies which will stop us to understand or to see the devotional qualities in others, right? Also, Krishna explains that Vritrasur is he's not envious, right? He's not envious of you, and that's why he's coming to fight you. He said fighting with you is his job scope. In project management terms, they said it is your job scope. You have to, your job responsibility. You have to do it. So Krishna is a born as a demon, but he's a born as a demon to slay Indra. So it is his job scope. For he's not looking for a victory and defeat. You know and also, there is a one more important point is for the devotee, right? There is no difference between the living and dying, right? Vitrasur, whether he is a dying or he is a living, or fighting with devtas, there is no difference between them, because for him, wherever he go, whether he's fighting with Indra or whether he is in the spiritual abode, he will be always, all the time, serving the Lord, right? So after that, all the devtas depart for approach, or they approach sage Dadiji, right? So when they approach Dadiji, they ask Dadiji, uh, sage Dadiji, please give your. As they go approach, say forward. They said, please give us your bone. Lord have asked us, you please sacrifice your body and give us your bones. Then if someone will ask us that, okay, why don't you give up your body, then we'll say, oh no, anyway I'm using this body in the service of the Lord, why I should give up, right? But what the Dadichi said, it is given in the sixth canto, again from the 6:10:8 to 6:11. What does it say? I'll read from the translation. It says that if one is unhappy to see the distress of other living being and happy to see their happiness, his religious principles are appreciated as imperishable by exalted person who are considered pious and benevolent. So here, Vritrasur, right? Here, Dadichi is showing this great Vaishnava quality. What is that quality? Is a paradukha dukhi. He is ready to give up, right? Which all the material world will see value. He's ready to give up his body, right? But he actually accepted to give up that because he applied the principle of paradukhe dukhi. In Gujarat, the very famous bhajan which is sung by Nashing Mehta, right? He said the Vaishnava Janato ene je kahiye, right? Vaishnava Janato ene kahiye je pir parai jane re. So it's the same quality, right? What Dadichi is saying, Dadichi see the problems of devtas as his own problems, right? And he ready to give up his body in because it was in full alignment with the order of the Lord, right? Also, Dadichi, one more thing which Dadichi said, right? He continued the conversation in the same verse. He says that this body, which is eatable by jackals and dogs after death, does not actually do any good for me, the spirit soul. It is unusual only for a short time and may perish at any moment. The body and its possession, its riches and its relatives must all be engaged for the benefit of others, or else they will be source of tribulations and miseries. You know, that's what the GC said. Now, after that, Dadichi Muni, he controlled his senses, he controlled his life forces, his intelligence, and he absorbed that into the lotus feet of Krishna. He gave up his body after that, and Devtas actually take his body, take out his bones, and Vishwakarma carve out a weapon called Vajra for Devtas. Now, if we look at it, what is the victory meant for Dadichi, right? From this whole episode, what we discuss now, what is meant by Dadichi, right? Sage Dadichi have give up his body, which is we all find very valuable, but he give up it because of this higher understanding that these bodies ultimately need to be used for the service of Krishna. But for a devotee, right? Maybe we are not being asked to give up our body, right? But what we should give up, one should give up the tendencies like pride, right? Mental speculation, false ego, and envy, which will prevent us to use our body in the service of the Lord. Right? One should try to give up those tendencies. Now, after Dadichi's weapon, right? They got the weapon. So now the scene is set for the great battle, right? Bhagavatam explained that end of the Satyuga and the beginning of Treta Yuga, this great battle took place, that battle took place at the bank of Narmada. And Bhagavatam explained that this battle took place at around 120 million years ago. Please don't confuse yourself with the Narmada, which is there in Gujarat. There are the five. There are the five celestial rivers. Which is we have Ganges, Yamuna, Narmada, Kaveri, and Krishna. Right. So this battle took place in that celestial realm, right? Where and around Prabhupada, as Prabhupada said, it's around 120 million years ago. And what happened in this battle? So when Indra and demigods, so the battle is all set, all the demigods were headed by Indra and all the demons were headed by Vritrasur. Now all the demigods, what they do is that they make a beautiful arrangement and they attack the demons from all the directions. This time, Vritrasur is powerful, right? But Indra is a little bit more powerful. Why? Because his victory has been ordained by Krishna. Right? So he's more powerful this time. And during this whole warfare, when they start attacking each other, all the demons really get afraid and they started running. When they started running, actually demons, devtas, they took this opportunity and they actually attacked all the demons from behind. When Vritrasur saw that, actually he started preaching, because ultimately Vritrasur has a devotional quality. He was just from the body, he was a demon, but he was a devotee by heart, right? So at this point, he started preaching. And what does he preach? He says that what is the benefit of killing such enemies from behind while they are running in fear? One who considers himself a hero should not kill an enemy who is afraid of losing his life. Such killing is never glorious, nor can it promote one to the heavenly planet. If you truly have faith in your heroism, if you have patience in the core of your hearts, and if you are not ambitious for the sense gratification, please stand before me and fight. Right? What a wonderful point he said. Again, I'll repeat last point. Vritrasur says that if you are not ambitious for sense gratification, please stand before me and fight. Because he is not fighting for the Swargaloka. He's fighting because, as I said, it is his job scope, right? His prescribed duty. That's why he's fighting, right? But Devtas are fighting for the Swargaloka, right? So when he see that all the demons are dying, what does he do? Bhagavatam explained that he roared like a lion. When he roared like a lion, Bhagavatam explained that many of the devatas, they kind of tremble. They become um, uh, they become fainted. They fainted on the grounds, and then Vritrasu take up his trident and he tried to attack the demigods, and then he trample all the demigods because he's at large, he's huge. Now, now at that point, when this episode is taking place, Indra saw that, now he has to act. Indra has decided to act. And Indra took his club, as shown on this picture. Indra took his club and then he threw his club towards Vritrasur. When he threw his club towards Vritrasur, Vritrasur catch it like a flower. And then he return it back to Indra with a great force. When he do that, actually that club hit the Airavata's head. And Airavata started bleeding. When that happened, actually Indra also fell from his Airavata. And Bhagavatam explained that when he hit the club, actually Airavata fell back 14 yards behind, right? Now Vritrasur, when he saw that Indra is fell down on the floor, Vritrasur does not go and strike back on him. No, because that is against the Dharmic principle. It's not like a guerrilla war or warfare, you hide behind and kill the people. He is a devotee, so he just don't go and fight. He wait there and he let Indra regain his positions. Indra has a nectar in his hand, so he just put his hand on the Airavat, and Airavat become jubilant, and he becomes fine. And then Indra sit on the Airavat. But what Vritrasur notice is that Indra become morose, and he become very sad. So Vritrasur was thinking, why is it so? And then he started encouraging Indra. Now, it's a very very beautiful conversation. What happened between two of them, you know. So Vritrasur, right? He explained to Indra that Indra, to kill you in this battlefield is my job scope. Why? Because you killed my brother Vishwarupa. He is innocent, right? But in this war, if you kill me, right, then what will happen? I'm going to I'm going to think about Krishna, place my consciousness under the lotus feet of the Lord, and leave this body. And that is the victory. So, in any case, if I act according to my prescribed duty, or I'm going to get killed by you, in the both cases, victory and defeat will not going to touch him. Because in any case, it will be victory for Vritrasur, right? He also further explained. He said that. Victory and defeat both everyone, and then fight with us, fight because you're fighting behalf of me, right? So here, for why, actually, if we look at it, why Vritrasur encourage Indra on this battlefield, which very nicely explained into the Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 1 to 6, right? Where it's a very, very beautiful words, which says, Save Punsa Paro Dharma, Yator Bhakti Adokcharyam, which means is that there is a higher duty which is calling Vritrasur. And what is that duty? To render service unto the Lord, right? And another beautiful point is that it is ahetuki apratihata, without tinge of material motive. Without tinge of material motive. So Vritrasur whole intention is to his whole intention is to serve the Lord. For him, the victory and defeat does not matter, right? And after this conversation of preaching of Vritrasur to Indra, actually Vritrasur earned the respect from Indra. Sorry, Vritrasur earned the respect from Indra. Prabhu, I'll take another 5 minutes. So what happened after that? Vritrasur, right? Indra take up his thunderbolt as advised by Vritrasur. He take up his thunderbolt and then he chop off the two hands of the Vritrasur. Vritrasur lying on the floor, and he's waiting. Jai Shri Gaunitai ki Jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Jai, Srinathji Gopalnathji ki Jai. Indra chop off the hands of Vritrasur, And then Vritrasura was lying on the floor. Also, Vritrasura later, when he was lying down on the floor, when Indra again tried to attack, he really threw his thunderbolt far away. Again, Vritrasura preached, Indra, victory and defeat is not in our hand. Everything is ordained by the Krishna. And then Indra entered into the mouth of Vritrasura, and then he opened his abdomen and then come out from there. Now Vritrasura is lying on the floor. He fixes mind onto the lotus feet of the Lord. But does the Vritrasur attitude is defeated? No. His attitude was not defeated attitude, because for him victory and defeat is not on the material plane. For him, victory and defeat is in consciousness, and that consciousness is already placed at the lotus feet of Krishna. Right. So after that, Vritrasur sings the very beautiful prayers. Right. They are very wonderful prayer which starts from 6:11:24 to 27. Right. We'll sing these prayers. Aham bharetav padaikamula dasanudaso bhavitasma bhuyah Manasmareta supate gunamste gunitva karma karotu kaya nanak prishtham na chaparameshtham na sarvabhaumam na saradhipatyam na yoga siddhir apunarpamam va samastasva virahasya kangste ajat paksha iva matarang khaga satyam yathavat satarashrudata priyam priyeva vishitam vishanna Manoravindaksadichyate tvam. Right? This is the prayers of Vritrasura. What is he praying? He's praying, "O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, will I again be able to again be able to be servant of your eternal servant, who finds shelter only at your lotus feet. O Lord of my life, may I again become your servant, so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes. May my words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your Lordship. O my Lord, source of all opportunity, I do not desire to enjoy Dhruvaloka, right? The heavenly planet or planet where Lord Brahma resides, nor I want to be the supreme ruler of earthly planet or the lower planetary system, right? Here Vritrasura is telling that his desire is not the Sargaloka, he is restating that. I do not desire to master of the prowess of mystic yoga, nor I want liberation if I have to give up your lotus feet. And then he gives beautiful explanations, give beautiful examples. What are those examples? O lotus I Lord, as baby bird that have not yet developed their wings always look for their mother to return and feed them. As a small calf try to rope await anxiously the time of milking, when they will be allowed to drink the milk of their mothers. Or as a morose wife whose husband is away from home always long for him to return and satisfy her in all respect. I always yearn for the opportunity to render direct service unto you. So here, if you read this verses translation, there are the two times Vritrasur the year use the word opportunity, right? The devotees look at this material world as an opportunity to render service unto the Lord, right? Right. And now, finally, what happened, right? When the Vritrasur was lying there, right? What Indra do? Indra take his thunderbolt and try to sever the heads of the Vritrasur. It take him 1 year to sever the heads of the Vritrasur. But what happened when Indra is trying to kill his enemy, but the enemy's consciousness is already placed at the lotus feet of Krishna, right? Then what is the benefit? And why he's doing that? To enjoy the Swargaloka. But what happened? When he actually trying to try after this all the killing, he trying to enjoy the Swargaloka, but he could not able to do that because what he did, he killed the pure devotee of the Lord, Vritrasur. So sin personified as a very ugly personality. Bhagavatam explains that it smelled like a bad fish, and then it was chasing after Indra everywhere, wherever he goes. And to save himself, Indra, what he did, he take the shelter into the Manu Sarovar, into the stem of the lotus flower, and that's where he actually he take the blessings. He reside into the lotus stem. So he reside into this lotus stem, and that's where all the devta come there, and then devta offer all the obeisances so that Indra can return back. And how long does it take? It takes hundreds of millions of years in a celestial life. Then later Indra was able to return back. With this, we end this beautiful pastime of Vitrasur. So before we finish, there are some few takeaway points from this pastime. What is the first takeaway point? Vitrasur whole consciousness is what? Nimitra Matra Bhavya Satya Sakhi. So he is always aligned with the interests of the Lord. And how he did it? He tried to do everything which pleases the Krishna. How we can do it? We can always check that whatever the activity we are doing, whether is it aligned with Krishna, whether are we able to, whatever the activity we are doing, is it going to please Krishna? Second point, Krishna never forgets whatever little bit devotional service done by a devoted soul. Right? If you take the example of Vritrasur was in a previous birth, he was a Chitraketu Maharaj, right? But because of the curse by this Lord Shiva, he became a demon. But by the Lord's mercy, when he take up the form of a demon, his consciousness was anything but the demon, right? That's the mercy of the Lord. Like I'm an engineer right now. If I'm going to die and take a birth in the next birth in the mother of the womb, when I'm going to come out, I don't come out with the engineering degree, right? But whatever the little bit endeavor we do into the path of this bhakti, it is permanent, right? This is the stock which Krishna allows you to carry in your next birth, right? And the last point is that it is for us to really important to remember that real defeat for us is that when we are defeated by our pride, when we are defeated by our hankering, when we are defeated by the great need to possess the things and lord it over the material nature, right? And real victory is to remember the Lord always. Now, for in this material world, whether we get defeated or whether we get victorious, but if we try to see the hands of Krishna and everything, and when we try to imbibe the 1% of the mood of Vitrasur, then there is no victory, there is no defeat. Then there is always victory in the spiritual world, and we will be always remember Krishna all the time. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So, okay. So, all the questions for Nilmani Prabhu. So, anyway, we are late. Yeah.